Another 58 cases of COVID-19 reported in country. The Pan American Health Organization sending out a warning, and the opposition calling on the prime ministers to set the date for general elections. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lissy Bastian with your JCN News for this Wednesday, April 14th. Thanks for staying with us. Since Sunday, April 11th, the country has recorded some 124 new COVID-19 cases, with the latest COVID-19 numbers for Monday, April 12th at 45 and Tuesday, April 13th at 58. That's 103 cases between the 2 days. 76 cases were confirmed here on New Providence, 16 on Grand Bahama, 5 on Bimini and Cat Key, 3 on Abaco, 2 on Eleuthera, and 1 on Exuma. 3 cases here in the capital had a history of travel within 14 days. Total cases in country now at 9,563. A further breakdown of the cases for Monday and Tuesday indicating that 43 of the cases are males and 60 are females. There's now 339 active cases in country. Of that number, 42 are hospitalized, 17 cases in Doctors Hospital, 15 considered moderately ill, and 2 in the intensive care unit. 15 cases at Princess Margaret Hospital, all considered moderately ill, 5 in the South Beach Acute Care, and 5 in Grand Bahama Health Services, all considered moderately ill. 0 cases recovered yesterday. However, 100 cases recovered on Monday. Total recoveries now at 8,965. The Ministry of Health reporting an unfortunate COVID-19 death, that of a 53-year-old male of New Providence who died on April 9th. A total of 81,197 RT-PCR tests have been completed to date. The death toll now at 191. The Pan American Health Organization warning that despite countries going through the process of vaccinating their populace, vaccinations will not stop the next oncoming wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. This coming from the director of PAHO, Dr. Carissa Etienne, during PAHO's weekly COVID-19 press briefing this morning.
For most countries, vaccines are not going to stop this wave of the pandemic. There are simply not enough vaccines available to protect everyone in the countries that are at greatest risk. Therefore, we need to stop transmission by any means possible with the tools that we have at hand. This will require comprehensive strategies to both accelerate the rollout of vaccines and control the virus using proven public health measures.
According to Dr. Etienne, a rise in positive cases and hospital admissions across the Americas is concerning as the amount of virus variants appear in the region. She makes this call to the public.
It is time for a reality check. We are not acting like a region in the midst of the worsening outbreak. More people have been infected with COVID-19 in our region in the last 7 days than most of the weekly case averages that we saw last year. And our weekly deaths outnumber those of any week in 2020. Despite ongoing transmission in many places, restrictions have been relaxed. Crowds are back, and people are gathering indoors and taking public transportation, often without masks. We need to remember everything that we have learned about how dangerous this virus is and what we can do to stop it.
Dr. Etienne also acknowledging some of the adverse effects of taking a COVID-19 vaccine. However, she assures that the effects are very rare. She also assures that these vaccines will save many lives. However, countries should not rely completely on vaccines to slow down transmission of the virus. There's no doubt that election fever is in the air as both major political parties, the Free National Movement and the Progressive Liberal Party, begin to ramp up their campaigning. Smaller parties like the Bahamas National Constitution Party, BNCP, led by Wesley Campbell, are also making a case to be elected the new government of the Bahamas. In a recent interview, Mr. Campbell says none of the other political parties are addressing the basic issues of the country and its citizens.
I haven't seen any political party on the scene as yet, including the PLP and FNM and all of these third parties, addressing the fundamental issues that affect our society. Now, we have been talking for the last 8-9 years, particularly about the natural resources and the need to harness them to restructure and reposition our society. But we're not talking about distribution of wealth. We're talking about changing the psychology and the attitudes of Bahamian towards themselves and towards the concept of development.
In the very near future, according to Mr. Campbell, the BNCP will reveal its national plan, showing Bahamians that it is different and that the plans are realistic and achievable. As it relates to the level of governance over the last 2 decades, Mr. Campbell did not hold back on his scathing critique.
Our society has been lied to over and repeatedly. We have two parties who have come out of each other and who have been like an octopus on top of the Bahamian people. The Bahamian people have been very trusting, but our leaders have been criminally malfeasant.
Mr. Campbell makes the charge that some subsidiaries of some politicians are bleeding the country of its natural resources. He says that the BNCP will expose them with the idea of criminal charges levied against those who are guilty. Well, with that said, the Progressive Liberal Party leader Philip Davis calling for the competent authority to officially set the date for the upcoming general elections. The official opposition, in a statement acknowledging that campaigning during a pandemic increases one's risk of contracting COVID-19, and continues to urge the candidates and supporters at all times to campaign as safely as possible. However, Mr. Davis contends that if Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis says he intends to call an election shortly, or if he continues to visibly ramp up his own campaign activity without announcing an official date, campaign activities across the country will continue to intensify as registering new voters, ratifying candidates, and preparing for the vote ramps up. Mr. Davis urges the Prime Minister to set the election date, allowing all political parties to suspend major campaign activities until the current surge of COVID-19 cases have abated. You're watching Jcn News. When we return, another man arraigned for that Eleuthera drug bust and the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness facing some challenges. Stay with us.